Yes, I'm Charley Burley. Great to be here with you. Now, we all love a bit of storytelling, don't we? Especially if we learn something along the way. Well, my next guest tonight left her career in marketing to become a full-time storyteller. Danielle tells the stories of Celtic women that she studied when doing her MA. Pleased to say we can speak to her now. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Charley.
Great to speak to you this evening. So how did you become a storyteller?
Oh, it was just by chance, really. So it was during COVID. Everything was put online, including my degree. So I was doing a master's in Celtic studies. And it was during that time that I was learning about how elusive and mysterious the Celts were, because they'd never committed anything to writing at all. And from that, got into the bardic tradition, which is, poetry and prose and storytelling, and thought that sounds really interesting. Everything had been put online because of COVID, pros and cons to that for sure. And I found a storyteller who was doing a course in learning how to be an oral storyteller. And so I thought, I'll just give it a go. Went along and absolutely loved it, and thought, I can't do anything else now. This is it. I found what I want to do.
Oh, amazing. So where did your interest in Celtic women come from then?
I think women in general are often written out of history, or they're not even written out of it. They're just not really included in it, unless they've done something really remarkable or really abhorrent. And there's no real middle. There's nothing in the middle. And so I was writing my dissertation based on the representation of Celtic women, because I thought, most people know of Boudica, and then you have a stereotype of the Celtic women who are, bold and fearless and strong and brave. But I'm thinking, well, only ever one, maybe two women, Cartamandu, if people know of her, are mentioned. And I thought, there's got to be more women than this that have existed. So my research took me down that rabbit hole of looking at who are the historical women. We've got a lot of women, Celtic women in myth. So you've got Rhiannon, you've got Ceridwen, you've got Scaha, you've got the Morrigan, and these are they all fall into that mythic territory and of being these powerful women. But actually, where are the historical women? So that's when I came across, in the span of 600 years, only 6 named Celtic women exist. So wow. It's just insane. Yeah.
Yeah, that is insane. So just tell us briefly then about the women that you have studied who feature in your show.
Yeah, so I've got Ciamara, who is 1st century BC. And I've got Cama, who's also 1st century BC, and Eponina, who is 1st century AD. Ciamara and Cama are both in Galatia, which is now modern-day Turkey, and Eponina is from Gaul, which is France. And their stories, they're so interesting because they sound like they could be folklore or mythical tales. Which is why I decided to write about them. So Ciamara is taken prisoner during the Battle of Mount Olympus. She's a Galatian queen, and she's abused, and essentially she bribes her captive and goes on to plot revenge against him. So she gets justice in such a clever way. Which involves a lot of greed on behalf of the Romans. Cama and her story, her husband is amazing. She absolutely adores him, but he's got a cousin who is incredibly jealous and wants Cama for himself. So he murders Cama's husband, and so she goes out and she gets revenge, again in such a very clever way. And then Eponina's story it's a tragic love story, really, but her husband fakes his own death, and she has to go and live with him in a cave for 9 years in secret. And, all 3 of their stories are so remarkable. And I think they play into that stereotype of, they're bold and look at, they're so courageous, but actually I think it's quite insensitive to look at it through just that lens, because you're looking at it not in context. And as soon as you realise their reasons for acting in this way, you can start to understand it. You can start to find yourself within it, and within their stories. And I think it starts to. My hope is that it allows people to find their own reasons for courage and what is it that makes you a courageous person.
Yeah. So where has the show taken you so far then, Danielle?
It started in Cardiff. If we go for actual places, I took it to Cardiff last year as a work in progress and told it to a room full of storytellers who have been storytelling for like 20 years. So it's absolutely terrifying. But it was really helpful. And so off the back of that, I then took it to Manchester to a Sting in the Tail Club, and it's been to Oxford Storytelling Festival, and I've taken it to my hometown of Shrewsbury as well, where it's sold out, which is amazing. And I think off the back of the show as well, it's opened up so many more opportunities for me as a storyteller. So I was taken on by Adverse Canva, they're a storytelling production company. So I was taken on as part of their mentoring scheme, which then meant I got to work with loads of other storytellers to develop my own craft and to develop these stories and to figure out how this looks and what else am I going to do with it and where am I going to take it. And I think, it's such a versatile craft, storytelling, because it's just me in a room, and because I'm not limited to a script or anything like that, it allows me to be able to tailor the show to any audience at all, which is, it's great, because then it means I can work with so many people and the options for where it goes are not closed.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair play. I'd find that really nerve-wracking performing in front of people like that. So you definitely got more more courage than I have. So who is the show aimed at then, or is it just kind of a mix of people that can enjoy it?
The show, as it stands at the moment, is aimed at adults, but I think, like I said, it can be adapted for children, and I think it's really important that schools take on storytelling like this. History, it's history made accessible and it's history made fun. I'm not giving a talk or a lecture. It's stories. And I think history, when you realize that history is just people and people are full of stories, it makes it so much more interesting. So the show could be tailored to education, to probably older teens at secondary schools, but at the moment it would be for adults, just due to the context of it, because there's some heavy topics within it. But it's not necessarily just for people who like history or are interested in women's history, or you don't have to know anything about the classics. It's, if you can see them in their own right as stories and you like a good story, they're for everyone. Yeah, definitely. So just finally, Danielle, how can we find out a bit more about you and your show and where we might be able to watch it as well? Yeah, so I have a website which is daniellefree.co.uk, which links to all of my social media platforms as well. The show at the moment, I'm currently trying to put on a small tour. There's no current dates at the moment, but I am looking at Shropshire and Wales, and so I would encourage people to join my mailing list, which is on the website, where they can find out more about it.
Great stuff. Danielle, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And good luck with your tour. It sounds great.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank you. That is Danielle Free, who gave up a job in marketing to become a full-time storyteller specialising in Celtic women. Right, just coming up to 23 minutes past 6. I've got some Holly Humberston for you after this.